And, so I was just going to get just a little bit of background about things we've done, for those of you that don't know us so well. So when Britta was little, she would like to play, and typically, because Rachel was 2 years older, they would spend a lot of time with each other. Whatever activities Rachel was interested in, Britta would usually be interested in the same ones as well. So Britta loved physical activities, especially soccer. Ed and Jude, thank you for coming. Her first soccer coaches when she was tiny, and Kyle, their son, was on Britta's first soccer team, so they still kept in touch. Besides sports, Britta has played musical instruments. Rachel played piano and cello and percussion, and Britta played piano and cello and percussion. So we're used to the same kind of instruments. They pretty much followed in each other's footsteps in that sense, but Britta has always been extremely interested in animals as well. So in our house, I know her friend Allie and Britta used to get together and they would make crafts. They'd make like bracelets out of yarn and braid those, and they would make several, hundreds of those bracelets and sell them for like $1 a piece to raise money. And they would have lemonade stands and bake sales where they'd make their own cookies. And then we lived kind of near the UW football stadium, so as football fans were going by, they'd put their stands out there to sell money, to sell items to raise money for the Humane Society. So she was always very giving. Then as soon as she was old enough to drive her own car, she would take the car and she would drive off to the Humane Society to volunteer and help animals. In our house, we've had many pets. We have Henry the Hedgehog, and rats, and birds, and cats. And Britta wanted a dog, and we kept trying to give her like a stuffed animal dog, and things like that. And she kept begging, and so finally we got a dog. And as soon as Britta got the dog, she was just delighted. She would get down on her hands and knees on the floor and wiggle around and play like she was a puppy playing with the dog. And she's always had just a great compassion for animals. So Sarah and I kind of looked at her and thought, she's just so kind and wonderful and loves animals so much. I wonder if there's anybody else like her. Britta met Mason in Madison when she was home for school on break from Grinnell College in Iowa. So when she would come home, it was like over Christmas break, and she would go to the emergency animal clinic in the evenings and the weekends when the regular veterinary places weren't open to watch the vets working on extreme emergency cases. One night she came home kind of late, and Sarah went in and talked to her. I was probably in bed, but Sarah told me that she asked how it went, and Britta had told her, well, there weren't that many animal cases there today, but there was a young man there today who was also shadowing the vets and seemed to be interested in vet school. So they met there for the very first time, had a nice conversation, and then when Sarah came back to bed, she kind of said to me, I think there might be some activity going on here. So I'm aware of this. So I think over the next couple of weeks before Britta had to go back to college, they got a chance to meet with each other a few times. And Mason came over and met us. He introduced himself to me and Sarah, and shortly after meeting us, he immediately got to know our pets. We get to know the cat and the dogs, and kind of get down with the dogs and the cats. And we got to know them, and we could see that he loved animals. And we could, after talking to Britta, they seem to have so much in common. And Britta has told us, too, that she's felt very welcome by Mason's family. I know he's really close to his family, and it's kind of hard to get involved with a family like that that's so tightly knit. But he was very welcoming, and his family was very welcoming, so we appreciate that. And Mason, Sarah, and I are delighted to welcome you into our family. I guess if you guys have a glass and would like to celebrate in a quick toast to the two of them, this would be an appropriate time to have a first toast. Britta and Mason, you've strengthened your relationship over the past 4 years during your vet school time. And I think that if you guys can make it together through vet school, you can make it together too in home. Your married life together is just beginning, and you're going to have many adventures along the way. We've already had some interesting adventures. Next week, when you take off on your way to North Carolina, remember 3 things. Cling to each other passionately. Communicate with each other and make each other number one in your lives, and you'll have a successful marriage. We love you, we cherish you, and we wish you well. Congratulations.
Oh, wow. Excellent.